husband really had a very big body, but by the time that he got sick, simply because he could not eat, because each and every time after my husband had forced himself to eat at that time when he was still able to feed himself, what will happen to him was that when he would try to force himself to eat, then he would vomit. He would vomit so much that it felt as if my husband was vomiting some essential fluids straight from his body, because he was no longer vomiting food that he had eaten. But you could see that whenever my husband would have vomited, when you would look at his vomit, the vomit was mixed with blood and some white fluid. So we can say that by the time that my husband died, he died of starvation. Just before the passing away of my husband, in secret, what I had done, my brother, is that when some of my husband's relatives had returned back to the village, I then took my husband's car, then I placed him into the car, as difficult as it was, because he still had a very big body by the time that I did this in secret. When I had finally managed to get him into the car, I drove with him to that spiritualist house. It was in the evening when I went and I visited that spiritualist. This I did without the knowledge of his relatives. When I arrived there with my husband, that was when that lady told me that this was nothing but a hopeless situation, and she didn't want to waste any of her charms on a dead man. I wanted to cry when that spiritualist looked at me and said that she didn't want to waste her charms on a dead man. At that point, she was saying that my husband was half dead. But she said that I was really clever, and it was quite a good thing that I had managed to think of this plan, because I had brought my husband whilst he was still half dead. She said that from the moment that you have entered with your husband into my oracle whilst he is still half dead, this means that I have to help you, and I want to help you to take your husband's soul, so that by the time when he is passed away, instead of him fighting with us, and I know that if he was going to fight with me, I would conquer him anyway, but you have saved me a lot of energy. Now I can harvest his soul before his demise. So he said that whilst my husband was on his deathbed, it was easy for her to harvest my husband's soul. So throughout the night, what this spiritualist did to my husband was really painful. I wanted to cry, but she kept on insulting me, and she said, I do not want you to shed even a single tear, because if you cry for your husband, then these prayers that we are about to do, they won't work. The reason why I was so hurt with all the things that this woman wanted to do to my husband, I was so hurt with the way that this spiritualist was force feeding my husband. That woman kept on forcing my husband to eat whatever herbs that she had in another wooden plate. And after my husband had finished eating, my husband didn't have any strength anymore at that time. He wanted to say something and he wanted to cry, but there was no strength that was left in his body. All that he could do was groan and moan in pain. When my husband had not yet fully recovered from all of that force feeding that had happened to him, he wanted to vomit, but I could see that his body could not even push itself to vomit anymore. Then that woman pushed her finger into my husband's mouth, pushing her finger deep into my husband's throat so that he could vomit the food that she had given to my husband to eat. After my husband had been forced After she had forced that finger straight into my husband's mouth, then he started vomiting. He vomited like no man's business. She then said that I had to lick up all the vomited food that was lying all over the floor. My brother, when she told me that I had to vomit all the food that was lying on the floor, all the food that had been vomited by my husband, I found this to be so disgusting. But my brother, simply because I wanted these prayers to work, that lady who was assisting me told me that I had to be like a strong woman. She then explained everything that we were doing. She said, if you fail to do this after the death of your husband, you will never be able to chase away his spirit. But my brother, this was quite a very painful thing to do, to lick up all the food that had been vomited by my husband. The food was just lying all over the place, but anyway, I did it. So this lady, I had previously asked her if it was the charms that she had given me that had caused my husband to be sick like this, because as far as I knew, before I had gone to visit this woman, I knew that my husband was okay. He was physically fit, but after she had given me the charms, those charms that she had given me, whereby she had mixed my pubic hair and some of my period blood so that I can use it when I was cooking for my husband. From that moment, after I had cooked for my husband for 3 days using those charms that contained my period blood and my pubic hair, that was when my husband got so sick like that. But this woman said that I was the one who was causing my husband to be sick, not her charms. She had refused to take any blame, and it was as if I was the one to be blamed in all of these things that were happening to my husband. All that I wanted was a sort of a plan that was going to keep me safe from the spirit of my husband in the event that he was going to die in this sickness of his. So that woman, after she had said that it was my fault, and she said that she was feeling sorry for me, and that is the reason why she was helping me, because according to her, if my husband would have died without me performing that ritual, then his spirit was going to torment me for how long I do not even know. So looking at how sick my husband was and seeing that death was already standing at his doorstep, I then accepted to eat up the food that my husband had vomited. As I was kneeling beside that traditional healer, she then said, I want you to repeat all the words that I am going to say, for you are like a child that does not know anything. All that you know is to deny and to deny. So I knelt beside that traditional healer. Then she started to speak to my husband in my place, but I was supposed to repeat all the words that she was telling my husband, even though at that time my husband could not even answer for himself anymore. So she looked at me and she looked at my husband and she said, if it be the herbs that has made you sick, so today I want to tell you that the charms that I have given you have made you to vomit all of the herbs that I had previously given you. The charms that had came from this oracle. Now when you die, you can no longer hold any grudge against this oracle or I. But what I can promise you, my husband, is that in death I will always honor you. All of these things, Brother Nashi, I did them because I was just a desperate young woman who was trying to chase away the spirit of her husband who was about to die, and knowing that there was a higher possibility that I was the one who had caused my husband to get sick like the way that he had gotten sick. But I didn't even realize what kind of damage that I had done. When that spiritualist was still alive, she then assisted me to find luck financially, and it happened. I found my financial breakthrough after the death of my husband by getting into real estate. Each and every year, my brother, it is the same thing over and over again. My life is stuck in a single place. I am neither moving forward with my life or going backwards. It is like I am trapped, forever trapped in a single place.